Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new here, welcome. My name is Braden Timmons, and today we are talking about Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. That's right, guys. We're in the shit now. Oh man, like here we are, guys. We're in week 5 of the Halloween review series, and it's led us to here. Now, I don't know how many people I'm gonna offend by saying this, but Halloween 5, in my opinion, just ain't that great. Now, I will say to give you guys some leniency. It is definitely not the worst in the franchise, okay? Those of you that like Halloween 5, there you go. I said it, okay? It's not the worst in the franchise. There's a few more that are worse than Halloween 5, but it's pretty much up there, in my opinion. Now, when I was a kid, I did really like Halloween 5. I'll also say that. I used to have a very fun time with it, but now, I mean, this is not by any means one that I feel I need to watch every single October. And by the way, if you guys are new here, consider clicking that subscribe button because we are currently on a 12-week journey leading all the way up to Halloween Ends. We're obviously in week 5 now, talking about Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. After lying in a coma for a year, Michael Myers awakens and stalks his way back to his small hometown in Illinois, intent on killing his niece, Jamie, who has been confined in a mental institution since Michael's last attempt to slay her. Suspecting a psychic link between Michael and Jamie, psychiatrist Dr. Sam Loomis joins forces with Sheriff Ben Meeker, who attempts to stop Michael's latest rampage. And that's pretty much what's going on in Halloween 5, guys. Now, before I get into what makes Halloween 5 not that great, I will say there are a couple things that I do like about Halloween 5, and I'll start with that. Normally, I have to start with what I don't like, but since this is mostly going to be a negative review from me, I'm going to start with what I like. So what do I like about Halloween 5? Well, Dr. Sam Loomis, played by the great Donald Pleasence once again. I will say I like a few of the lines that he has in this movie. Like, I love the line when he's like, talking about Michael Myers and how hell just would not have him, like how he prayed that he would burn in hell, but in his heart he knew that hell would not have him. I think that's a great line. It's probably one of Loomis's best lines in the entire franchise. I do think that is an absolutely outstanding line, but for the most part, Dr. Loomis seems just like a senile maniac in this movie, especially the way that he runs up and screams in Jamie's face, like right in front of her nurse and everything. There's just a lot of shit with Dr. Loomis in this movie that we'll get into, but there's a couple things that I do like about him, so that adds to my like list of this movie. Another thing I really like is I like Michael's death, and that's Tina's boyfriend. Not Michael Myers, obviously, but I like Tina's boyfriend's death. He gets a freaking big smack to the face by Michael, and it's fucking awesome. It's easily the best death of this entire movie, and it's definitely, if I can pinpoint a scene that's pretty memorable from Halloween 5, this is definitely it. And the last thing I really like is at the Myers house, which don't worry, we're gonna fucking get to the Myers house here in a little bit also. But I like the laundry chute scene that occurs during the finale when Michael Myers is after Jamie. I do think that this scene it's very claustrophobic, which I'm sure that's what the filmmaker was going with, and it's just very suspenseful. So I do really enjoy this scene a lot. So those are the 3 things that I really like about Halloween 5. But this film was directed by Dominique Othenin-Girard, and prior to directing Halloween 5, his credits were like 2 small things, and with those credits, he had somehow gotten to direct Halloween 5, and not only direct Halloween 5, but he also has co-writing credit on Halloween 5 as well. And I will say that the writers of Halloween 5 expected the audience to not give a shit about story, because Halloween 5 picks up right where Halloween 4 left off. It actually even has a recap scene, which is honestly insane. And there's also a lot of weird dubbing, like Rachel's scream right in the beginning. It's definitely a dubbed scream for whatever reason, because if you watch the end of Halloween 5, the exact same scene happens, and she's not screaming the way that she's screaming in Halloween 5. So there's a lot of that in this movie. There's a lot of dubbing, and you can really hear it. And if you pay attention to how characters talk in certain scenes, you can definitely see it. There's also a scene with Tina where you can tell that there was a lot of voice dubbing going on, and there's a very obvious one with a police officer towards the end where you can tell that it's not his voice at all. It's almost like that these guys hated the way that this actor sounded, because every one of his lines does not look like it's him talking, which is absolutely crazy. But back to the beginning of this movie. So Halloween 5, again, it has this recap of Halloween 4, and we see that there is some transference that occurs between Jamie and Michael Myers, which honestly makes absolutely no sense because it doesn't really go in depth to explore how this happened. And this movie also very much furthers the Cult of Thorn story, which is, I'm sure, somehow how that was able to occur. But there's really no purpose for that to exist, except that Michael needs to find Jamie, and that's the easiest way for him to find Jamie. So that happens, and then they recap everything that happens with Halloween 4, and then Michael Myers is crawling out of this fucking cave, and the mask that was literally just shown in the beginning of Halloween 5, recapping 4, is immediately different. As soon as he crawls out of the cave and he starts floating down the goddamn river, which is absolutely crazy. Because watching Michael Myers float down a river is just freaking not scary. It doesn't make Michael Myers seem scary. It doesn't make him look scary. It honestly is just so funny watching him float down this river. So Michael Myers floats down this river and ends up at this old man's hut, and all of a sudden he just passes out. Then the movie fades to black, and it says that we have now cut to an entire year later. Jamie is now in a mental institution in Haddonfield, and she's also now mute, which makes, again, absolutely fucking zero sense as to why she's fucking mute right now. But then we cut back to this old man's hut, and Michael Myers wakes up, puts on his mask, and kills this old man. But that's not even the craziest thing. This story now says that it has picked up a year later. So you're telling me that this old man has just been watching over and caring for Michael Myers for a fucking year? Huh? So that's absolutely crazy. So that fucking happens, and then Michael Myers kills this old man and ends up heading back to Haddonfield. And Sam Loomis enters the story, and we have Rachel who's there, and we have Tina who's there, who is technically a secondary lead to, Rachel and Jamie in this movie, and Ellie Cornell, who plays Rachel, ends up getting killed pretty early on in the movie. And just the way that Michael Myers looks in this movie, I'm not a fan of at all. He looks like fucking Nicolas Cage, and the mask isn't scary. We get a Michael Myers that literally stalks in the worst possible way. Like, there are scenes where he'll be seen in a window, like he'll be trying to be stalky, but then a character will turn towards a window and you can clearly still see that he is right there. He is very fucking visible. And the way that he stalks Tina and her friend in the park, the way that he's just standing over by the bushes, he just doesn't look scary. Honestly, I would prefer the Michael Myers from Halloween 4 than I would in Halloween 5. And I know that I saw some of you, when I was posting about this in my, on social media and in my community section, I saw some of you saying that Michael Myers is scarier in Halloween 5. I wholeheartedly disagree. I would honestly rather be stalked by the one that was in Halloween 4, because at least there he seemed more like the Shape. Here he doesn't really seem like the Shape. The way that the camera angles and stuff, and the way that you can literally see Michael Myers, even like during his stalkiness, it's bullshit. And I don't buy that this Michael Myers is the Shape. Like, there's a cool shot at a Halloween party scene when they're in a barn, when Tina and her friends are in this barn, and Tina is searching for this kitten. But I do feel like that for the most part, for that entire scene, you can see Michael Myers moving. You can see where he's at, and that doesn't justify his character. But let's talk about this barn scene, man, while we're on here, because this barn scene is absolutely fucking way too long. I mean it. It's like there are so many false scares. There's a guy that dresses up as Michael Myers, and it just... honestly doesn't add anything to the story. The whole scene is just way too long. They spend way too much time in this barn for the actual Michael Myers to finally come out and just kill these teenagers. And honestly, you're just pretty much like waiting for that to happen the entire time. So about halfway through the movie, Jamie finally is able to get her voice back and she's able to talk. She says the name Tina, and Tina gets very excited and hugs her, and then just ends up leaving Jamie to go to that party. She does call Dr. Loomis a very creepy old guy, and that's pretty much what Loomis is for a majority of this movie. He's just a pretty big creepy old guy, and that's because, again, he gets way too up close and personal with Jamie. He's screaming in her face right in front of the nurse. He's trying to figure out where Michael Myers is because of this telekinetic connection that Jamie apparently has with him, which again makes absolutely no sense. And all of a sudden this man in black shows up in the town of Haddonfield also, and he has absolutely really nothing to do in this movie besides get Michael Myers out of jail at the end after he has been caught. Finally. Now, Halloween 4 existed to bring Michael Myers back into the timeline. This movie honestly just feels like a big, long trailer for Halloween 6. So, Halloween 5 really has no purpose of existing except to expand on this Thorn bullshit that's introduced into the franchise and to pretty much just keep making money. That's it. Because Halloween 5 is, honestly, it has really no interesting development to offer to the franchise other than it is the middle of this Thorn trilogy, and it's the one that really introduces this Cult of Thorn plot. Like Halloween 4, the ending, there was no Thorn anything at the end of Halloween 4. It's really Halloween 5 that really pushes that forward, but we really don't know what's going on until Halloween 6. Because it shows this symbol on Michael's hand early in the movie, but there's really no development on that until Halloween 6. And again, this man in black just shows up and just kind of pops on screen every now and again and eventually saves Michael Myers at the end. And let's talk about the Myers house in this movie, because that is where this fucking finale takes place. The Myers house looks absolutely nothing like the Myers house. That's one of the things that I love about the regular Halloween 1978. I love that house just looks like it can be in a neighborhood. Like, you can drive by that house pretty much every day. I like the simplicity of it. Halloween 5 completely disregards that, and not only do they not make Michael Myers not scary in this movie, but they also change one of the most important elements by giving this Myers house a new look to it. It's got more of like a castle-y, old Victorian vibe to it, but it just doesn't add anything because us fans know exactly what the fucking Myers house looks like, and it doesn't look anything like the goddamn Myers house. Same thing with Halloween 6, because fucking Halloween 6 also has a new fucking Myers house. It's literally crazy how continuity works in these later films. And again, while I do like the laundry chute scene that takes place during this finale at the Myers house, it still bothers me that they had to change this entire fucking thing. For what? I can't even tell you. I don't even know what the thought process was to change one of the most iconic houses in horror to make it look nothing like that. And that's my rant on that. I just think it's crazy that Halloween 5 makes all these stupid decisions, really has nothing memorable about it except a few small things, like whether it's just like a scene or two. And I will also say that, going back to one other thing I do like, I will say I do really like the chase scene with Michael Myers in the car that's right after that barn sequence I was talking about earlier. I do like that as he's chasing Jamie and Billy. I think that is actually a really intense scene. But I mean, for the most part, guys, Halloween 5 really has nothing to offer to this franchise. I really don't like the development of anything that happens in this movie. I just genuinely think that Halloween 5 is a movie that existed to just make more money just fucking because it's honestly crazy, and it all pretty much just
is a build up to what happens in Halloween 6, which in my opinion isn't really all that great either. Now, is it better than Halloween 5? I think so, but we're going to talk about Halloween 6 next week. But all in all, guys, I just think that Halloween 5 is an ultimate nightmare. I think it's a waste of time. I think that it's just not that great. And again, it's not the worst in the franchise, but it's also not the best. And from here on out, guys, we're pretty much into these negative reviews from here on out. Pretty much, I should say. There's a couple of them that I like from here until the new installments, but not too many for the most part. So that's my view of Halloween 5. With all that being said, post your guys' comments down below. Let me know, what do you guys think of Halloween 5? Do you guys love it? Do you guys hate it? Do you guys kind of find it somewhere in the middle? Whatever your guys' thoughts are, comment below. Let me know. And as always, if you guys like this, don't forget to join me on my journey to 10,000 subscribers, and I will see you guys in my next video.